So sitting on the chair, and we're going to do another vagus nerve release just before we start, because if you bring yourself into a calm state and tell the brain and the nervous system that you're in a safe environment, everything you do from that point is going to be much more effective than if you're stressed and tense and and just, you know, the brain is diverted. So if you think about the muscles at the back of your neck, you've got muscles that come up into the skull, suboccipital muscles, and then you've got muscles that run vertically across the top of those as well. They're all part of your suboccipital muscle group, and they're very responsible for the top two vertebrae in your spine, C1 and C2, and they're very tied into the brainstem as well. So what I want you to do is I want you to take your two fingers, not your thumb, and just go to the back of your neck and focus on the ones that go across, and just do a little gentle rub. And you're just really, you're trying to gauge the tone of the muscles. If you're not sure what to do, if you do it with your hand and your arm, if you pull on the skin of your arm, you should be able to feel that there's the fascia on the outside of the body, like a wetsuit, and you're trying to feel the muscles that are just underneath the skin, and there should be a glide there. So as you're doing this to the back of the skull, you're just trying to find that glide. Okay, now try it with the other two fingers and do the other side, and see if you can discern if you've got more tension on one side than you have the other. So I can feel definitely that I'm quite stiff on this side. That would also relate even to if you pulled on your ear on the side that you think you're more relaxed in, the ear is fairly soft. You go to the stiff side and you sort of notice that the stiffer side, the ear is not quite so mobile, feels a bit stiffer. So it just shows that that side of so the two branches of your vagus nerve coming down from the brain stem, there might be a difference from one side to the other. So just like we did the release with the hands behind the head and we're looking to the side, you can do this with the muscles at the back of the skull as well. So go to the side that you perceive to be stiffer if you can feel a difference, and you're going to just support your head so the neck muscles are relaxed. And I want you just, in fact, I'm going to change opposite, same side hand to the head, opposite hand to the back of the neck. And you're pushing from the spine outwards, and you're just trying to move the skin over the muscles that are underneath, and you're trying to find a point of resistance. Just slide the fingers back and forth and just see if you feel a point where it sort of gets a little bit stuck. When you find that point of resistance, just stay there and just gently stretch. So it's firm but gentle pressure. You're pushing that way, and you're just trying to find that point of resistance. If you can't feel anything, if you're not able to discern it, then just do a little glide right to left. But if you can feel that you push and then all of a sudden it gets stuck, that's the point that you need to be stretching the myofascia there. So this is going to release the vagal nerve on this side. Just breathe. So what we're trying to do is we've got three branches to the vagal nerve. We've got the one at the front of the body, which is for all the good stuff. It's all eating, it's seeing, hearing, eating, digestion, procreation, all the nice things, happy things. And then we've got the middle one, which is the spine, which is fight and flight. And then there's a hidden branch of the vagal nerve, which is in the back of the body. And that's our sort of primal part of our vagal nerve. And it takes us into a place of, even beyond fight and flight, it takes us into a place of depression, low energy, and even paralysis. And so you can get stuck in that state, you know, something can trigger you, and it just brings your energy down and your mood down. And the way to overcome that is just to bring the front vagal nerve up into supremacy. And as that comes up, the other two go down. So it's a nice, simple, easy thing to put right. And just like the other one that we did with the eyes, you're just looking for that deep breath, that sigh, that swallow, which you might have already had and you might have been listening to me and not noticed, and then just gently release. You're doing it for about 30 to 60 seconds. If you close your eyes, you should feel a little bit different in the brain on that side as well. So now, same side hand on the side that you're going to, just to support your head and neck so the neck muscles can relax. Take your opposite hand, first and second finger, and you're just going to start at the spine and you're stretching the skin, the superficial fascia, over the muscle that's underneath. And you just try to find a point where as you glide the finger across, it gets stuck. So that shows there's tightness and stiffness in the myofascia there. And where you're stuck, just apply gentle pressure, outward pressure. You just breathe, you're relaxing, and you're looking for that, we'll focus this side, looking for the deeper breath, the swallow, the sigh, the yawn, just to show that you've had that neurological reset in the vagal nerve. So anywhere, to about 30 to 60 seconds, and then you'll get that release. So as you bring this vagal nerve in the front of the body up into supremacy and balance, it's going to improve your vision, your hearing, your speaking, your heart rate, your blood pressure, your breathing, everything that vagal nerve touches, digestion, is going to influence. So it has quite a profound effect. And then, so it's about a minute, and then gently release. So just roll your shoulders, move your nose. I've had people already telling me that their neck is hugely improved just by doing this vagal technique, every day, once a day, and just starts to relax the neck muscles as well, which is really important. So we'll take the chair away, but we're going to come back to it for one more in a minute. Come to the floor. We're going to go into the whole body. So the thinking is you bring yourself into that calm, alert state so that you're now ready to go on and do the other releases. So we're going to start with the hip flexors like we always do, but you've got a choice. You could use the roller, or you could use a ball if you want to be a little bit more aggressive. You could use a rolled up towel. And we're just going to come up onto the side of the roller or the half roller, elbow under shoulder. You could put your knees on the floor, that's a little bit easier. And you're just going to roll up the side of the bone of the pelvis. So you've got these two circular bones that make up your pelvis, the ilium. And your hip flexor muscles are attaching to the pelvis. So anywhere in the side of the pelvis, you're going to notice it's tender. Those hip flexors are very active. So at the moment, I'm going up and down. So from the greater trochanter, the bump at the top of your leg bone, right the way up to the rim on the ilium. So that's one way of doing it. You can also roll forward and back. That's a little bit more aggressive because it's bringing in glute medius, it's bringing in IT band, TFL, all through the sides here. So glute medius, TFL, and IT band. So then if you wanted to, you could take your legs straight. If you straighten the legs, you're going to tension those muscles so that they're really active as you roll them. So that's going to make it more confronting. So you decide, make sure you're working safe. The spine is in neutral. You're not straining, you're not struggling, you're relaxing. So we should be feeling relaxed after doing the vagal release, but so we just want to make sure we're just working with the body, and then it's quite happy to release. Okay, so what you do next is you bring your top knee onto your roller or your towel, do a little half turn with your pelvis so that you're right butting up against the bone at the front of the pelvis, the ASIS, and you're just going up and down on the bone to begin with. So that's where TFL is beginning. And then you can start to come down a little bit below the bone. So TFL comes down, if I take my leg out, it comes down about a third of the way down. So you're just in that top part. If it's tender, if it's painful, you're in the right place. You could do a bit of a scrub, drag your pelvis across the roller. You could put your knee on the floor and you could just lift and lower the foot. You could do circles with the foot. Not very coordinated circles there. I was all calm and composed this morning, and now I'm all sweaty because I've been running around. So switch over to just front on the roller, and just with your toes, push and pull with your toes, and just roll out the ASIS, the bones at the front of your pelvis. This is a nice one. It's where your middle quads come into the pelvis, but it's not too confronting. Sorry, I've got building work going on next door, so you can hear the buzz of the drills going off every now and again. Okay, so once you've done that, you could just turn over. I'm going to change sides so that I'm still facing the camera, but you could just turn to the other side, and we're going to repeat to the other side. So we started with the elbow under the shoulder, the knees on the floor, and we're just rolling up and down the ilia. So from the greater trochanter, which is that, it's usually where the widest part of your hip side, you can feel that bone. From there upwards to the rim of the pelvis. Make sure your shoulder's not overreaching. You're not taking the elbow too far out and putting stress into the neck and the shoulders. So you could also roll forward and back. Try and roll like a log. Try and make your breastbone, your belly button, and your pubic bone all roll together so that you haven't got too much movement in your spine. So this is probably the best of the three, okay, because you're getting in 3 different muscle groups. And so they're really, really all getting good attention. You can extend the legs, so that's gonna, so you can do bend and straighten, or you can just roll like a log. So like I said at the beginning, if you do this with a ball, it's a lot more confronting, and that's something you need to build up to. You wouldn't go straight into ball work. It's much more direct. It's going to find those triggers. This is a gentle way of doing it. So then we bring the top knee onto the roller or the towel, do a little half turn in your pelvis, and you're just coming up the front of the pelvis on the ASIS, that prominent part at the front of the pelvis. I'm using my toe to push and pull to create movement, so my core is relatively relaxed. And if you want to, you can put the knee on the floor. So as you lift and lower the foot, the TFL is contracting and short and lengthening. And you could do circles with the foot. That's going to sort of really get in there. Go the other way. Do a little bit of scrubbing. So the fascia loves that sort of scrubbing action. Anything that creates friction and movement is a true myofascial release, whereas the rolling is more massage. So you're doing a little bit of both. And then you're bringing your pelvis onto the roller, facing forward, and just go up and down the 2 prominent parts at the front of your pelvis, your ASIS. So when we're at the front of the pelvis, we're working on where the middle quad comes from the knee up into the pelvis. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go, you could go to the pubic bone, and you could just gently go over the pubic bone. That's your rectus abdominis, your 6-pack muscles. So from the pubic bone to the breastbone, there's vertical muscles that run up. And they're not the most important abdominal muscles, but they can get over tight. And if you're tender at the pubis, it can be because those muscles just need to be relaxed a little bit. And then think about your quads as 4 zones. And you're going to come into the first of the 4 zones, just below the pubic bone. And you're just moving up and down. And where the first zone meets the second zone, right in the middle, is trigger point 1 for your rectus femoris. So it's pretty tender in there. You can test the waters by lifting one foot, lifting the other. Again, if you wanted to go stronger, you could do this with a ball, but it's much nicer with the roller or the half roller. Using a half roller, you have to create the movement because you won't get the rolling of the roller. You could keep both legs up, and you could just go up and down in that first quarter. You could stay on the line between the first zone and the second zone, and you could do some side to side scrubbing. Just really get in there. So you're going across the fibers of the muscle, cross-fibering, across the grain of the muscle so that you really start to relax them. These are big, strong muscles, so they can handle a lot of work. So then come into the second zone. You're using your elbows to push and pull. You're pulling your belly button into the spine. You could use your toes a little bit as well. Try and keep your spine in neutral. So you don't want to be sagging to the floor like I am. That's going to hurt your spine. You don't want to be too lifted because that's going to make you work too hard. You just want to be in that perfect middle position, parallel with the floor. Abs are slightly active. They're working. So you could do one leg lifting. Do the other leg lifting. You could do them both lifted. You could put the feet on the floor. You could cross fiber. You could scrub side to side across those big, strong muscles. So try the third zone, and where the third zone meets the fourth zone, you've got trigger point 2. So this can be pretty painful in this zone as well. Moving into my chair. So push pull with the elbows, belly button pulling up into spine, push pull with the toes. You're looking forward, you're not looking at your camera. Keep your neck nice and safe. You could lift one foot, lift the other foot. You could alternate between those two, or you could keep them both lifted the whole time. Put the feet on the floor, do your side to side scrub. It's really, really unpleasant. So you notice the tension's increasing as you get towards the knee. So now you're working in the final quarter, which is just above the kneecap. And sometimes that's pretty sore there as well. Keep your belly button pulling into your spine. Lift one foot. Lift the other. That might be all you need to do just to get into here. You could do your 2 knees up. You could do a little bit of a scrub. So just push yourself all the way back. I'm going to come back on my mat because I'm disappearing out the room. So now we've done those 4 zones. Just see now if you could link your fingers, elbows under shoulders, and see if you could work up and down the whole of the length of your quads. If you've not got a roller, if you've got a half roller or a towel, you can just stay with working in whichever zone is, more uncomfortable for you. So you could do one leg lifted, the other leg lifted. You could do both legs lifted. You could do a bit of a crunch. If you've got a roller, just really pull your abs in, come into a round lifted back. It's called the elephant. It's going to work your chest, your shoulders, your back, your abs, and just help you with the glide through the quads. I'm even coming up to the pubic bone and just above the pubic bone, just to get into those abdominal points as well. So push yourself back into knees and just give yourself a little bit of a stretch. Take a breath. Slowly coming up. So the side of your quads, you can do this one 2 different ways. You can do this in your mermaid position, and you could just put a ball there and you can just work down the side of the leg. Okay, so that's one way to do it. That's the gentle way to do it. Or if you've got a roller, you could do this in the side lying position, and you can just roll through the sides of the legs. Not quite so nice. So just find what you can tolerate. So if you find this way is just too horrible, then just go into the mermaid position. I'm going to do a few of these and then I'll finish with the mermaid, I think. So if you've got the roller, just give yourself this initial exercise to open up the side. Make sure your elbow's not too far out. Put your other foot behind, just so that you can control that movement a little bit more. I say it's pretty confronting but it's a quick way of just getting into your IT band. So we maybe do 6 or 7 of those and then come into your mermaid position. Choose the ball that's right for you. Chucking my balls around today. And you're just going to press. So you start fairly high up and you're coming down towards the knee. You don't even need to do this for very long to make quite a difference. So 3 or 4 pumps and we'll change sides. You might already be there if you didn't do the roller part. So this is definitely the nicest way to do your IT band. Three, 4 pumps. Okay, so we've done the middle, we've done the hip flexors, we've done the quadriceps, we've done the IT band and the TFL. So we'll come back to the chair. This one is one that you do much better on a chair than you do on the floor. So it's worth taking the time to come back to standing. So you're going to get fairly firm ball because hamstrings are pretty strong, strong muscles. They can handle it. And just put the ball just in front of your sit bone in the middle of your thigh. And we'll just do that one side. So you can rock onto it, rock off it. I've got a pretty hard ball here. You just find what feels right. So what you can do also is you can stop for a minute and you can just lean forward, pull the abs in to stabilize your spine, and you're stretching your hamstring as you do that. As you do that, you could extend your leg, which is going to really stretch your hamstring. So these are suggestions. If you feel like just the first part is enough, just do what you can. Make sure there's not tension building up in your back. So then come down the middle of your hamstring. So maybe you're coming down 2 or 3 fingers and you're just, again, so you could just press, you could rock off, rock on, you could lean forward, or you could lean forward and extend the leg. So all of those different ways of doing it. I could just do the lean or the leg. Okay, make sure your abs are slightly engaged so that your back doesn't take up the strain. Anything that you do with hamstrings, you can feel it into the back if you're not doing it well. So come down another couple of fingers. So you could start with just pressing. So even the force of the hands is giving you that really good control into the ball. You could lean off, lean into it. That's quite strong in itself. You could just lean forward. You could add the leg extension. You pull your toes up towards your knee. It's all going to tighten up that posterior chain through the back of your body. Coming down again. Presses. So just like the quads, as you get nearer to the knee, you can feel that the tension is increasing. Again, you could, once you get sort of midway down, you could even just move your leg across, go cross fiber across the grain of the muscle and just really get in there. Add your forward leans, add your leg extensions. Remember the scale of 10 for pain. You want to be about a 6 or 7. You don't want to be going too much above that. Otherwise, you're going to send yourself back into that fight-flight response that we've just worked to come out of. So you're all the time working in agreement with your body. It should feel like it's a good thing, not a bad thing. So you're coming down again. So as you get nearer the knee, you might need to be careful of varicose veins. So we were talking about those this morning. Sometimes they're very visible and we know they're there. Sometimes they're quite deep and we're not sure. But if there's, if it's painful, if it's tender, if it's inflamed, then there's a very good chance that there is. So then you would work around that area or just stay well away from that area. You could do a little bit with your hands. So hands are okay. You can put your fingers in the back of the leg, the back of the knee, and just gently massage. And that way you still get some release. But fingers are much more, they can tell the tone of the muscle, they can feel the veins, they can feel the varicose veins, so you're getting feedback to the brain. So you never take the ball into the back of the knee. So I'm a good 4 fingers up from the back of the knee. So if you just measure with your hand, you're just in where the muscle is coming into the bone. You could do a little bit of cross fibering, extending. So pretty tight in here. You could lean forward, but just make sure the abs are engaged, the back is not uncomfortable. So take the ball over to the other side, just in front of your sit bone, different leg, different story. So you're rocking on, you're rocking off. So for me, this side's much tighter. I can feel it straight away. Hopefully you've moved on to a nicer side. So keep in mind that scale of pain, you don't want to go above a 6 or a 7. If it is, you go softer with the ball or you go slightly to the side. Just work on the peripheral area. So leaning forward, see how that is. See if you could extend the leg and lean forward, but just make sure it's all feeling good. And you've just got that little bit of engagement through the lower abs so that your back knows that it's being supported. So coming down 2 or 3 fingers in the middle of the back of the leg, if that's available to you, and just gently pressing. That's good. You can rock to the side and then rock on. That's quite, I'm finding that one quite confronting because you're applying quite a lot of weight as you rock onto the ball, but you decide, you're in control. So if you want to relax your hamstrings, come down again. You need to relax your hip flexors first. So if you try and just do the hamstrings, they'll relax, but then they'll just tighten up again because they're tight for a reason. And so you need to go to the beginning of the problem, which is the hip flexors and the quads. So I'm rocking side to side. I'm going across the grain. So if the muscles grow in this direction, you're going across the grain of the muscle to really speed up the relaxing of the muscle. Leaning forward, you feel the hamstring stretch. If you extend the leg as well, you're doubly stretching that leg. Abs engaged. Make sure what you're doing still is in the good pain and not the bad pain zone. So you're coming down again. Start with the presses. That's a good way just to gauge how it's feeling. You can rock onto the ball and rock off the ball. Lean forward. Maybe you're adding that extending leg. So if you think it's too much to do the next thing, then just stay on the one that feels right for you. I'm going to do a little bit. Now I'm in the middle of the back of my thigh. It brings in that ability to go across with the leg. So that way you can really break down that strong tension that's in the myofascia. You're hydrating, increasing your circulation and your drainage, lymphatic drainage. So come down again. Start with your presses, just gauge how it's feeling. So once you get into that sort of lower third, that's possibly where you might come into the area of varicose veins. So just be careful. If it's an unnaturally tender and painful experience, then that's your brain telling you no. Pain is always there to tell you not to do something. Like I say, pain leaving the body is different from pain being imposed on the body. So we need to sort of discern the difference. So I'm leaning forward, I'm extending my leg carefully because this is pretty tight on this side. I'm going up to what I perceive to be a 7 in tightness and in discomfort. So coming down again. So measure with your hands, 4 fingers from the back of your knee. And that's, where your little finger is, that's the lowest that you'll go. me just do a little bit of this because I'm super tight here. The hamstrings begin at the pelvis, they attach to the back of the knee. So the back of the knee is where all the tension is really building up. Leaning forward, extending carefully. Make sure you're feeling it in the hamstrings and not in your back. So I've got room to go down. I'm just measuring with my 4 fingers. I've got room to go down one more time. Super painful here. So I'm just going to press. And just take some nice deep breaths. Be careful about what you're thinking. So negative thoughts are being fed from the brain, hypothalamus, into the muscles. So make sure the thoughts are conducive to relaxing and releasing and not taking you out of that into pain and fight and flight. Just going across. It's good. Okay, so just relax for a minute. You can take your ball out and just do some tapping on your quads, down the sides, inner thigh a little bit. We haven't really addressed the inner thigh. So I'm just doing the main hip flexors and then their antagonists. To do all of the leg muscles is really an hour-long class just on its own. So I'm skipping past the adductors. So the next ones we're going to go to, we're going to take away the chair. We're going to grab our 4 balls, 2 balls of the same size, 2 pairs. And we're going to, hopefully you've got 2 hard and 2 soft. And we're going to put them 2 on the glutes. So the hard ones can go on the glutes and the soft ones are going to go between the ribs and the pelvis at the back, either side of the spine. So choose softer there. So if you lie on your back and just take your 2 softer balls and put them one either side of the spine, just underneath the 12th rib, the lowest rib. So really close to the spine, where the processes are that come out from the spine. So not directly on the spinal column, but just where the processes are. And then take the other 2, the harder ones, and just put them somewhere under your bottom. And just allow yourself to get used to that. I'm going to change mine around because I picked the wrong 2. You don't want the ones under your bottom to be so high that they take the pressure off of the ones in the spine. So with your hands up the front of your pelvis, just start with a single knee falling out to the side. And then let the other knee fall out. Try and keep the bones of your pelvis in neutral, nice and level. And it should feel lovely. It should feel really nice to get into the deep glutes, to get into the deep back. So just letting the knees fall away. Fall away. So maybe you could let both knees fall out. And then use your abs to draw the knees back in. It's not a passive movement. The knees are opening and then closing. Opening, closing. Open and close. So now separate the feet to hip space and just do some pelvic tucks. So if the ball is in the middle of your glutes, you're in glute medius. The pelvic tuck should be pushing into the muscles for your quadratus lumborum and the muscles in the back. Make sure it feels nice. There's different things you could do if you want to advance. You could lift one knee. You could lift the other knee. Keep the pelvis nice and still. You could lift the right knee. You could do a little circle with the knee. Maybe do 4 circles on the right. Keep your pelvis nice and steady.
And then lift your left knee, 4 circles on the left. Make sure the pelvis is not rolling with the knee too much. Take the feet down. So now take those 2 balls that are between the ribs and the hips and just move them outwards about 1 or 2 fingers. You'll know by how it feels. And now you're getting to the trigger points that are a little bit further out in the QL. So you're right on the edge of QL, right underneath. And just again, go back to your knee lifts. It should feel good. Okay, and then you're going to take the balls out from the middle of the back and you're going to put them under your bottom as well. So you've got 2 either side and you're just going to do a sort of a skateboard, a slide to the right, a slide to the left, and just go across the glutes. So if you're in the middle, you're in glute medius. If you go a little bit higher, you're into still glute medius, but you're really along where the superior gluteal nerve is in the back of the pelvis. And there's quite a lot of tension through here. You could still be doing your knee lifts. You could do circles. The other side. So really anywhere in the glutes is going to feel great. You could come down just above the sit bones. That's glute maximus. And then we're going to take 2 of those balls out and we're going to just bring the ball right into the center of the glutes, but slightly upwards, slightly outwards, and just come into a piriformis release. And just, so you've got the 2 balls, 1 either side, but the side that you've got the bent knee on is the side that is working. And you could just be pumping the knee. Just get in there a little bit. You can do circles with the knee, feels quite nice. If this is too strong with the foot on the knee, you could just put the foot next to the other foot and just let the knee fall out and just, you know, bounce the thigh a little bit. That's effective as well. So we'll just leave it at that and we'll put the other foot on the knee or the foot at the foot and let the knee fall out, whichever seems better for you. And just pump the knee. You could do a little bit of a sway. You could make that into a sort of a circular movement with the knee, the bent knee. Just find what feels right for you. Okay, and uncross and take the balls out for a minute. So we're going to the neck now. So I want you to choose the balls that you think are suitable for your neck. And I want you to just take them. If you feel with your hand, you've got the top of your shoulder blade. You've got that angle that cuts across. It's quite tender just on the inside of that. You're going to put 1 ball on either side in that place. So levator scapulae. You might want a pillow for your neck. If your head is nicely resting on the floor, you don't need a pillow. If your head is hanging back to reach the floor, you need to put a pillow under the round part of the back of your skull. So just close your eyes for a minute and just assess. And again, I can feel that one side is much more painful than the other. So for sake of time, we're doing them both together, but if you did this at home, you might prefer to do just one side so that it's not quite so confronting. And just do an arm float. So this is trigger point 1 for levator scapulae. And then do the other arm. As you do this muscle group, you can move your nose from right to left. So oftentimes when we get stiffness in the neck, it can be levator scapulae that is the culprit. So generally, the way to know if it's levator scapulae is if you've got neck pain, if you turn your nose towards your shoulder, if the pain is on the opposite side that you're looking towards, it's going to be your trapezius that's causing the problem. If the pain is on the same side that you're moving your nose towards, it's going to be levator scapulae, the one we're doing here. So just see how that goes. So you could do both arms floating. You could draw a circle with your hands on the ceiling, that's quite effective. And even stronger is to hold your own elbows and make a circle. So you're really moving your shoulder blades around, you're really getting those muscles to work. So now the next trigger point is if you were to just put your hands at the side of your neck, sort of where your little fingers are, so not all the way up the neck, sort of halfway up the neck, where the little fingers are is trigger point 3, and where the ball is trigger point 1. You want to come right into the middle between the little finger and the ball to find trigger point 2. So put your fingers halfway up your neck, dig your little fingers in, that's trigger point 3. Between the little finger and the ball, trigger point 2 is about the midpoint between where the balls are. So just take the balls to that trigger point 2. It's sort of where the muscle starts to come in towards the back of the base of the back of the neck, and just see if there's any tenderness in there. So you might need to hold the balls in place. So if you imagine the muscle that goes from that sloping part of your shoulder blade to halfway up the neck, you're following that line, and sort of in the middle is trigger point 2. And then trigger point 3 is halfway up the neck, just sort of slightly at the side, slightly toward the back. You could just try putting the balls there and just see if there's any tenderness there. If you drop your chin, you'll get a little bit more pressure on the ball. And also you could do this with your hands. Hey, if you're struggling with the ball to find the triggers, just take 2 fingers and just, press around and just see if you can find areas of tenderness. So with fingers, you're going to get so much more information through the nerves in the fingers about what the tone of the muscle is, whether you can feel that little trigger point, that knot in the muscle. So we'll take the 2 balls and we're going to come inside the inner edge of the shoulder blades, but near the top. So now we're into rhomboids. So think about the 2 inner edges of your shoulder blades, split them into 3 zones, and you're in the upper zone. And make sure your head is not hanging back to reach the floor. So if the back of your skull is sitting on the floor with the balls there, that's fine. But if your head is hanging to reach the floor, just get a little pillow and just put it under the round part of your skull to bring your neck into a more relaxed position. So again, arm floats, the same as before. So for me, this one's quite painful. If you need to, you go softer with the ball. So if it's taking you to a 9 out of 10 in pain, then just go softer. So you could do single arm floats, you could do double arm floats, you could do circles on the ceiling, you can do elbow circles. You move your nose right to left. Remember, all these muscles connect to the neck through the myofascial system. So the good thing about rhomboids is to get to the middle zone, all you need to do is just push your body up and bring yourself into that middle zone between the shoulder blades. quite close to the edge of the shoulder blade, not too close to the spine. And again, just check that your neck is, your head is not hanging off the back. And so I'll put the pillow there now because I'm a little bit higher up. And just make sure that you're comfortable. If you need to go to a softer ball, you do. So I found a master trigger on one side and I can feel the pain going through the nerve, right the way into the shoulder, right the way up to the neck. So you could do an arm float if you want to take it further. You could just stay still. If it's quite confronting, just stay still and just breathe. Nice deep breaths. Do arm circles. Elbow circles, nose circles. And hopefully it's starting to improve and you can feel that any tenderness is starting to subside. So then you're coming into the lower zone, the third zone. You push your body upwards and come into that third zone, right up against the inner edges of your shoulder blades. And, you know, once you get to the lower part, you can sort of bring in some little pelvic tucks to create movement. You could move your nose, you could move your arms. It's very instinctive. Just go to what feels right for you. So for me, this one feels better with arm floats. Take some nice deep breaths. Move your head, move your neck. Just to speed up that release. So the breath is talking to the brain, telling your brain whether you need to be in fight or flight. So if you're holding your breath, you're sending the wrong messages to the brain. So nice deep breathing, connecting with your parasympathetic nervous system. So just carefully take one ball out and then take the other ball out and just give yourself a moment just to see how you feel, because that's quite a strong release. Keep an eye on the time. So we're going to come up carefully from the floor, and you can either use a pillow for this. It's a thoracic extension. You could use your half roller, or you could use your roller. You could use an air cushion. That's a nice way to get into your thoracic spine. The roller is obviously the strongest because it's bigger dimension. We've already relaxed our rhomboid, so we're just going to bring the roller to the shoulder blades. If you're on the flat part of the shoulder blade, that limits the movement. So if you're not very flexible through the thoracic spine, then go easy, go gentle. Keep your chin tucked so your neck is in that stable position. Bring your elbows forward to create a cage for your head and neck. Make sure you're not pulling your head forward. Your head is gently pressing back into your hands. The abs are slightly active, and you're just breathing in and you're looking at the ceiling. Just feel that lovely stretch in your thoracic spine. As you breathe out, deeply pull your abs in. You're using your abs to help come up. Make sure you're not pulling on your neck as you bring those elbows forward. So you're breathing in to look at the ceiling. You're breathing out, contract your abs. Now, if you're quite flexible and you've got, your neck's okay with this, as you breathe in, you could open your elbows like the wings of a butterfly. As you breathe out, you could close the wings, contract your abs. Make sure you're not pulling on your neck. Breathing in to open. So in this exercise, you're trying to keep the vertebra in your neck very still. You don't want to be flexing in the cervical vertebra. You want to be flexing in your thoracic vertebra between your shoulder blades. Use the in-breath to expand your rib cage. Breathing out, contract abs. Take all the strain, all the effort out of this. Less is more. The more you're doing this in a relaxed state, the more the body will open up and accept. Breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So see now if you could push yourself up a little bit and come to sort of just under your shoulder blades. So here you're going to create a lot more movement in your thoracic spine. So make your cage with your elbows forward, keep your chin tucked, breathe in to look at the ceiling, and then breathe out, contract your abs. So you can feel you're working on the lower vertebra in the rib cage now. So you're breathing in, breathing out. If that feels too strong, you would just change to a pillow or an air cushion or a rolled up towel so that you can still gently work on this part of your spine. Maybe it takes, 6 or 7 times before you start to feel flexible enough and strong enough to progress to the roller. Breathing in, breathing out. You don't go, take the hands forward, you don't go much lower because you're not as strong in the lower third of your rib cage. These ribs don't connect in the front, so they're not as strong as the ones that are in the higher place. So what I want you to do now is to link your fingers behind your head and lift your bottom. And if you've got a roller, you could just gently do some long strokes down the rib cage. If you haven't got a rolling roller, you could just do a sort of a crab walk up the towel or the cushion and a crab walk down so that you're just moving up and down, stretching the muscle, stretching the fascia. So both of those work nicely. If you've got the roller, you just gently push and pull. Try and breathe out as the roller rolls down and don't go all the way to the bottom of the rib cage. Go to about 3/4 of the way down. So you've got 12 vertebrae in the rib cage, 12 ribs. So you're only going down to about 9. So 10, 11, 12, you stay away from them. And you're breathing out as you roll down. You're breathing in as you roll up. One more, breathing out as you roll down. Breathing in as you roll up. Come to the top of your shoulder blade, just below that big bump, that first of your thoracic vertebra. So you've got 7 vertebrae in the neck. You've got the big bump, which is thoracic 1. You're just below that, so you're just behind the back of your shoulders, and you can just gently drop your head, lift your bottom, drop your bottom, lift your head. You're just sort of rocking between the two. So this is trapezius. This is the muscles at the back of your shoulders, the ones that run up into the neck. They've got quite a strong influence in the neck and can cause quite a lot of neck pain. So this is a good one. And you could also just stay with your head down and your bottom up. And you could just sort of jig your pelvis up and down a bit so that you're really massaging into the deep muscle at the back of your shoulders. Stay away from the vertebra of your neck. They're not strong enough to do this. You never ever do this on your neck, only in the thoracic vertebra. So gently drop the bottom, lift the head. Bring the roller or the pillow or the towel under the shoulder blades and just do a gentle sway from side to side. Turn that into a figure of 8. Really nice release. It's going to help you with your breathing. It's going to open up the breath. And then come to one side and you're just sort of doing a bit of a scrub underneath the bottom of your shoulder blade. So this is teres minor, teres major, lats. Lots of triggers just here. It can get super sore. And then do a little half turn, do a bit of a scrub on the other side. Come back into center and then just take your hands forward. You're going to lift your feet, swing up into sitting and just come forward for a minute and just give yourself a moment for your brain to decide what just happened and how it feels about it. So we started with the suboccipital muscles and we're going to finish with them. We're just going to come to lying down either on our roll towel or a half roller or a roller. Have our feet at hip space. Find the rim of the skull at the back, the chin is tucked, and you're just gently rolling from the back of the right ear across to the back of the left ear. So just that whole band of muscles, where the neck muscles are connecting into the skull, where the suboccipital muscles are connecting the neck to the skull. Behind the ear, you've got your big neck muscles at the front connecting. So you could go to the right side and just do it up and down, side to side circles, up and down, side to side circles. The lower you drop your chin to your chest, the more you stretch those side neck muscles. Even the back ones get a good stretch there. And then go over to the other side, behind the ear, up and down, side to side, circles, up and down, side to side, circles. Just really drop your chin to the chest, stretch those neck muscles in the sides, in the back. And then just finish by going right to left, across the rim of the skull at the back. You drop your chin, you're going to get in there quite strongly, and you can do this with a roller, but you would never go any harder than a roller or your hands for the back of the neck, for the base of the skull. So because it's soft, it's not going to do any harm. So then just carefully slide the roller away. Just bring your knees in and just hug your knees for a minute. Bring your head into your knees. Your spine should be feeling really nice, really relaxed. Bring the head down gently. Take the feet down one at a time. Just roll over with the knees to the side, coming into sitting. And that is whole body myofascial release. Number 9, I think it is on my list of things to do.